Hello? All right, there we are. Hey, everybody. My name is Mr. Gemco, and I'm the coordinator of Fine Arts Week, and I'm really happy to welcome you to the first day of what is the best week of the year at any high school in the country. So, we're really lucky that people support a full week of activities, supporting and also just encouraging people to think about how to keep doing art, keeping art in your life in some way, shape, or form. And we're also really lucky to have a very special guest with us this period. His name is Sam Lee, and he graduated 20 years ago, 2006, from York High School, same place you guys are all at right now, right? And since then, he has followed his dream out to LA, and he has made a career as a musician, songwriter, recording artist, and last year or two, I'm not sure exactly when it was able to become part of the mega hit K-pop Demon Hunters as Romance Sajaz. Let's give it up for Sam Lee. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. This is super wild for me. I never knew I'd step back in here after I left 20 years ago, and I can't believe it's been 20 years. I remember this stage. I remember sitting back there. It's always back there. I remember playing up here with my band. I had like 2 or 3 bands while I was at York, and I always played the talent shows. Are there bands here still? Yeah. Anyone here in bands? I actually can't see. It's like totally dark over there, but I can kind of make out some hands. So yeah, that's why I'm here. I wanted to talk about, I wish I could make it very clear and simple that I can talk about what it takes to be successful in the musical industry. But the thing is, the music industry is not a guarantee. There's nothing that's gonna make you feel more confident about entering it. It's very unpredictable. So it's not really going to be like a TED talk about you have to do this, this, and this, and then you'll be successful. It's really like, I have no idea what happened, but I ended up here. That's kind of like what happened, but I'll try to inspire you in some way. This is my attempt. But I want to ask you guys, any songwriters here? Okay, any songwriters that are trying to do it for a living? Like, you guys have dreams of actually, like, you guys want to be an artist or you want to be songwriters? Like, you can kind of shout it out. Like, what do you want to be? Songwriter. Songwriter, okay. Songwriter. So back in the day for me, songwriter, the concept of songwriter, especially in the Midwest, it didn't exist. Like, you're either an artist, you're in a band, it's usually a punk rock band, or you're not doing music. Like, there's no such thing as a songwriter. Of course there was a culture of songwriting throughout that time in LA. It was very popular. But I was just a kid in Elmhurst and I didn't know what was going on. There was no social media back then. I'm making myself sound ancient, but, and so for me, I didn't really see the appeal of songwriting. So the whole time at York, I was trying to be a rock star. That was my aim. That's what I wanted to be. At the time, there was really big bands like, you guys know Fall Out Boy? At this point, it's all like classic rock, right? Actually, let's just backtrack. I'll tell you from the start what happened, okay? So I come from an immigrant family. It's pretty obvious. We're Korean. My parents came from Korea back in the 80s. They came to Chicago, and they were in pursuit of the American dream, right? It's very cliche. But it's very specific what a Korean American dream is, and that is that their children become one of 2 things. Can somebody tell me what that is? Doctor or lawyer? Doctor or lawyer? Whoever said that, you're getting canceled. Okay, that's a stereotype. But that's true. They came here with hopes that we become a doctor or lawyer, that we would like I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I'd like recite that to my mom. She's like, "What are you gonna be when you grow up?" I'm like, "A doctor," you know. But I had no idea what a doctor even was. I was just like, whatever. Like that's what my parents want me to be. Of course, it's great that they moved over here, took that risk, sacrificed their future, and moved to a country where the language is very unfamiliar for the slight chance that their kids might become a doctor or a lawyer. But in our household, my brother was outside playing sports all the time, just like throwing a baseball, shooting hoops. I was inside reading comic books, playing with my action figures. This is in high school. This is like when I was a little kid. And so the chances of that American dream, that very specific American dream happening was pretty slim, okay? But my mom and dad didn't really know any other way. Like if you come to America, that's what you have to be. So the idea of music, songs, using that as a career, it wasn't really a thing. It didn't really exist. But my mom, to my mom's credit, she, just like other Asian parents, she forced us into piano. Okay, so we had to play piano. Anyone forced into playing piano or like violin or something like that? Wow, surprisingly not all Asian people. Wow, okay. So for me, when I was learning piano, of course we're just like learning all the greats, right? Beethoven, Mozart, Bach, Chopin. I wouldn't say I ever really played Chopin, I never got that good. But for me, it didn't really relate to me. These like powdered wig dudes with frilly shirts that like played music like 300 years ago from Europe, like I can't relate with that. It's just not fun, you know? So for the longest time growing up, I thought music was for adults. Music is boring. Like why even play music? I wanna go and play outside with friends and do other things. And so I had this weird image of music in my mind for a long time. And mind you, I'm gonna be fast forwarding a lot because there's many years, so I have to move quickly. We don't have a lot of time, but so by the time I was like a preteen, maybe like 11 or 12 years old, this is 1999 or 2000, okay? That's how old I am. My brother, who's 3 years older than me, so at this point, he's at York, okay? And this is when York had their old building. He came home with a CD. You guys know what CDs are? Yeah, they're called compact discs, okay? It was a CD of a band called Blink-182. Who knows Blink-182? Once again, another classic rock band, right? They had this album, the name is a little inappropriate, but it was called Enema of the State, okay? They were this punk rock group from San Diego. They were a trio. Travis Barker, incredible drummer. And he came in with the CD, and I asked him what it was. And he was like, "Oh, this is a band that my friends are listening to. I picked the CD up. You want to listen to it?" I'm like, "Sure." And I expected it to be just like more Mozart music, you know. Popped it in, and the first track, my mind was blown. But I'm just going to show you these tracks to give you context. I'm going to be playing a lot of music because this whole thing is about music. So if you're not enjoying music, I'm sorry. At least you get to pass the period. So this is a song called Dumpweed, and it's the first track off of the album Enema of the State. And mind you, this whole time I was just listening to classical music and like choir Christian Korean music the whole time. It was just like stuff my parents liked. And so I thought music was lame, but this is what I was introduced to.
I said in many ways, I'm too scared to run, I'm too scared to stay. I said I'd leave, I can never leave her. If I
I had to stop it before the curse words came out, but that you get the idea of what the style of the music was. And can you imagine from the context of someone that was only listening to really boring classical music, and this just blasts through the speaker? Like, I was flabbergasted. I was like amazed that this type of music existed. I saw pictures of these guys. They didn't have powdered wigs. They were tattooed. They had piercings, and they were skateboarding and eating burritos. I don't know why I thought that was cool, but like. So I was like, oh, I can relate with these guys. And if these guys are making music, then music could be cool. It could be enjoyable. And of course, the music was cool. It was very catchy. It was edgy for its time, at least. The lyrics were just like so crass and like inappropriate, which I don't know why. I enjoyed that so much. I thought they were so funny. And so I was like, wow, this is so interesting to me. I feel like I can get into this. And so thanks to my brother, I got into punk rock music, okay? And at the time, it was sweeping through Elmhurst. It was like the thing to listen to. I mean, Blink-182 was all over, taking over the charts. So at the same time, just by a stroke of luck, where I was living, and I lived, I don't know if you guys know, I lived, you guys know Crestview Park? It's like pretty far away. I lived 1 block away from there, okay? So that's where I lived for a long, long time. Behind that park is a church, okay? I don't know if you know that, but it happened to be a Korean church. Like, of all places, a Korean church was behind that park. And why that's important is because my parents are immigrants. They don't speak English. They have to go to a church where they give sermons in Korean, right? And so we're a block away from this Korean church, and my parents only speak Korean. I'm like, we're gonna go to that church. So we started going to this church. I was 11 years old, and they had instruments on stage. And so after the worship was over, the instruments are just up here. And so like, I'm very curious, and there's like a bass here, there's a drum set here. So I would just go up on stage and just start playing it. I'd just bang away on the drums, start playing the bass. I'm sure it was frowned upon. I'm sure you're not supposed to do that. But churches are supposed to be welcoming, and they're not gonna go to a newcomer and be like, hey, don't do that. You know, I probably won't show up the next week. So I continued to do that. And also my mom, she prays a lot. And so they gave her a key so that she can join in on morning prayer. And so I took that key, and I would go in the middle of the week, like middle of the day, pretty much every single day after school, and just go play drums, just play bass. And I'm not playing church music, I'm playing Blink-182, you know? And that's how I learned these instruments, actually, thanks to church and the fact that my mom had the key to it. And so doing that, coupled with the fact that I was being heavily influenced by punk rock music at the time, I started to kind of secretly in my room write songs, okay? Albeit terrible, terrible songs. But I do find that usually when you start something, you start off terribly, so you shouldn't be too discouraged if you're gonna start something and it starts off very terribly. So I started writing songs, and they were really cheesy. I have recordings of it. I don't even want to go back there. It's very embarrassing for me, so we don't have to listen to that. But I was writing songs all the time. It was like it was an addiction because all of a sudden there was a standard. There was something to strive toward. These guys were so cool, these rock stars. It wasn't just Blink-182. There's all these groups that were popping up, kind of following after their footsteps, Sum 41, right? And then in the underground scene, there were huge groups, especially in Chicago. My favorite group in Chicago of all time is called Alkaline Trio. I don't know if anyone know Alkaline Trio? That's very surprising that like even 4 of you guys know. And so I started writing songs, and they were terrible, but I also had friends that were my age that wanted to play music. They didn't write songs, but they wanted to play instruments. So I was like, okay, well, let's just make a band, you know? And so we started practicing in a friend's basement, and we made this band, and it was a terrible band, but we were able to play shows. We were able to go around and play shows in bars as like 13, 14-year-olds, play the set real quick, and then get kicked out because you're not supposed to be in there. And that's kind of our touring. That's what we were doing for a long time. But at the same time, once we compile a certain amount of songs that we thought were decent, we go ask our parents for money so we can go record an album, right? And coming from Elmhurst, to some degree, you know, I felt that we were privileged enough to even ask money from our parents, and the fact that they were able to support us in that way is a testament to the community of support that we had. And so we made these albums and we were playing these shows, and all the while I'm being influenced by not only simple punk or pop punk like Blink-182, but I'm delving deeper into the genre. And at this point, the underground emo rock scene is starting to spring up, okay? And you'll see where I'm going here. I'm not just talking about like how the music industry or the scene changed throughout Elmhurst. I'm trying to set a foundation of what I was influenced by so that you can see the stark contrast of exactly where I ended up. And it's kind of crazy how different things are. But first and foremost, I do have to go through the type of influences that I had. And so this is another song that I really got into. It's another group that I was absolutely obsessed with. As a matter of fact, it's the first concert I've ever been to, and when I went to it, my life was utterly changed. This is a group called Saves the Day. Do you guys know Saves the Day? Nobody knows it? Okay, so this is a song called Cars and Calories.
Was magazines and faithful TV screens selling an empty dream of cars and calories, everything in between. The sun and Saturn string, the price tag can be seen, and it took bites out of her insides till she was just a hollow shell. Grew up in East LA, watching celebrities
So good.
living out all her dreams. The plastic canopy of U.S. royalty.
So this was the type of style that was coming out. It wasn't just like just vanilla, like pop punk with 4 chords. It was getting more complex. You know, the melodies were more complex, the harmonies, the chords were, you know, there's like some diminished chords there. There's something, maybe some augmented, I couldn't really hear it properly. But it was getting interesting, and I was eating it up. And all the while, my pride, my ego was growing on my preference of what is good music, right? You'll find that a lot of artistic people have a massive ego because they think that their preferences are much better than the next person. That's something that you have to squash as quickly as possible. I'll get into that. But I'm just listing for you a set of songs that heavily influenced me. And this is another group called Alkaline Trio that I mentioned before. And this is a song called Armageddon. Sorry, the Wi-Fi. Oh.
I wrote the words to this song on the back of a photograph. Behind your back it goes a little something like this. It's way too big to miss. I got a letter in the mail. The sender failed to let me know where it came from. Open it up, sure enough, there we were, arm in arm again.
So at this point, my preference of music is very clear. It had to be edgy. It had to be in your face. It had to have lyrics that were very provocative. It had to have aggressive vocals. And so these are not just preferences for me. I mean, for a young music listener that was introduced to punk rock, I thought this is just a fact, that this is what good music is, right? And you'll find that my entire trajectory in learning about music, it's all about this is how it is, and then my reality gets cracked, and I'm shown a broader view of what is possible out there. And so here is an example of that happening. So eventually, one of the days, I was in gym class, and I think people were playing like hockey or something. You guys still do that with like no skates? You're just like running around. Yeah, it's not fun. But a lot of times what we do is we make excuses. Oh, I'm sick. Like, I don't think I'm just going to sit out today. So that's what I did that day. So I was sitting on the side, and one of my friends, Beth Haas, I remember, was sitting off on the side as well, surely with an excuse for why she couldn't participate. But she was listening to her music. And we were friends, but I knew the music she liked, and I looked down on her preference for music because all the bands that she liked were the bands. All the bands had the in their name, okay? And at the time, if you like bands that had the in their name, that you're just like this trendy, wannabe indie, like, you just wanted to be cool, you know? And so she liked the Strokes, she liked the Hives, she liked this band called The Shins. Anyone know The Shins? That's crazy. It's like two of you. So I didn't know The Shins. So I was, sitting with her, and she was listening to her CD, a CD Walkman at the time, and I was like, yo, what are you listening to? And she's like, oh, it's a band called The Shins. I'm like, oh, another the band. Like, oh my gosh. But what else am I gonna do with my time? So I was like, hey, let me listen to that. So she gave me the headphones, and I told her to play the song. And once again, my mind was blown. You'll find this to be like a common thing. My mind is just constantly being blown, okay? Because this is the first time I was listening to well-crafted melody coupled with chords. And I especially like this song because it gives off a very minor vibe, minor but otherworldly vibe, and by the time the chorus drops, the chords fall out and there's only melody, and it implies minor, but it actually hits the relative major. Not to get too technical, but you'll see what I mean by this. And I'm gonna play a long segment so you kind of understand the context that I'm talking about. Oh, hold on.
Designed by, after all, these implements and text designed by intellects so vexed to find evidently there's still so much that hides. And though the saints of us divine in ancient fading lines, their sentiment is just as hard to pluck from the vine. I'll try hard not to pretend, allow myself no mock defense, step into the night, since I don't have the time nor mind to figure out the nursery rhymes that helped us out and make a sense of our lives. The cruel, uneventful state of apathy releases me. I value them, but I won't cry every time one's wiped out. I'll try hard not to give in, down to further wind. Read my head at this pretense, allow myself no mock defense, step into the night. La da da da, la da da da, la da da. When she places them in front of you, nothing holds a Roman candle to the solemn warmth of feeling so.
Okay, so you guys see what I'm talking about? It's like a very minor, but it turns into like a dreamy, major type of vibe. I never heard anything like that before. And so I was like, whoa, your the bands are pretty cool. And I actually became obsessed with this band. I went to like 6 of their concerts. It was like January, they played a show at the Riviera. I stood outside in the back in the snow for like 3 hours until they came out to their tour bus, just so I can tell James Mercer, the singer and songwriter, like, I'm your biggest fan, as if he's never heard that before, you know. I was just like a mega fan. And throughout that time, I also became a huge fan of bands like Wilco. You guys know Wilco? No? Maybe your parents might, I don't know. Wilco, and then eventually the band that just rocked me to my core, Radiohead. And Radiohead was significant because it was a rock band, of course. There's a bunch of dudes from England, but for some reason, their core, their DNA, their skeletal structure was hip hop. Even though they used live drums, there was like this visceral primitiveness about the way their rhythm pumped in the music. And it's kind of equivalent to like maybe how people listened to Led Zeppelin back in the day when the Immigrant Song would debut. You know, it just had this visceral, animalistic quality to it that I didn't really get from the other bands. The other bands were just more like simple 4 chords, simple melodies, catchiness, but this hit me somewhere in the animal section of my being. And so an example of that, real quick, is a song called National Anthem. About introducing the vocals quickly. They didn't care about losing your attention. They wanted the song to build. They were very patient with their creativity. It was surprising to me that there's no singing yet. It was just this groove for like a whole minute. I think the singing's about to start though. No, it's not. So that's what's crazy. Like I was like, how is this band so daring that they're willing to just not sing? And this is one of their biggest songs, by the way. So let's just wait until the singing actually comes in so you can get a gist of it. That much singing. And I was like, these people just don't care about pleasing anyone. They just wanted to make their art. And it was completely different from these other pop punk bands that were chasing the charts. The horns are coming. Unbelievable, at least to me. I thought that was so groundbreaking that bands would make songs to not please anybody. They just make songs for themselves because they have the conviction that they know what real art is. And so even though that was great, I think what it started in me was a real arrogance, and it upped my ego in terms of what I thought was good music. And I think you're starting to see the pattern that my reality is going to be shattered once again, right? But in the most unexpected way. Because all this time I'm listening to these dark, brooding bands, these experimental bands that made me feel like I was unique, right? Because everyone was listening to mainstream music, what was on the charts at the time. I don't even know what was on the charts at the time. That's how removed I was from it. I was just listening to underground music or very experimental music. But in that time, I was also making albums, I was also touring with the band, and I was doing all this stuff, trying to make music like Wilco, like Radiohead. But one day I walked into my home, and my brother was kind of blasting this song from his room. And to me, it sounded very offensive. And so I walked in, and I was like, what are you even listening to right now? And he was saying, I'm listening to K-pop. You guys know K-pop? You guys only know K-pop recently, or have you known K-pop? Who's a K-pop fan? Some people don't want to raise their hands, but I know you guys are, okay? So K-pop during this time, in the 06 or the 09 era, was full of incredibly corny music. It's just cheesy. Like, I think Asia at the time, maybe now too, had this inferiority complex where they needed to sound like the West. So they don't even know English, but they would put together words that are English and make zero sense and just slap it into verses. And I'm just like, what are they even saying? They don't even know. Like, how is this art? You're not connecting with anyone. It means nothing. And the melodies are so obvious. The track, the instrumental is just like this loop of someone that probably slapped it together in like 3 seconds. I'm like, this is so offensive to me. Think about all the songs I was listening to prior to this. And then like, I'll show you some context right here, okay? So that you can be offended with me. This is one of the pioneers of modern K-pop called Girls' Generation. If you're Korean, you know them as 소녀시대. And their second track after debut is called G, okay? Yeah, she knows G. Yeah. So I would have been very offended by you back in the day, okay? Yeah.
Listen, boy. My first love
I'm getting
story.
goosebumps right now. It's like so cringy.
My angel and my girls, my sunshine. 너무 멋져 눈이 부셔 숨을 못 쉬겠어 떨리는 걸. baby 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 baby. 너무 부끄러워 쳐다볼 수 없어 사랑에 빠졌어 수줍은 걸. baby baby baby.
Okay, you get the idea, right? Totally different from what I was listening to before. So I told my brother, I'm like, why are you listening to this? This is like garbage music. Like, I felt offended because my people from the motherland were like inventing this style. I'm like, this is a style that you choose to invent? But he was like, these people are considered like goddesses over there. Like, it's not just celebrity. These people are worshipped. They're legends over there. And I didn't know K-pop culture, so I was like, why? You know? But, so I thought, okay, well now at least I know what inferior music is. I can at least like pinpoint what that is. And I was like, I'm never gonna listen to that again. But that was a lie. When I would be alone, I would crawl back to it, just out of curiosity. I'm like, let's listen to it again. Let's just see how terrible this is one more time. 5 more times. 20 more times. Countless times I'm listening to this. All the while, there's bands that are competing in the industry at the time. Anyone know who Girls' Generation's rivals were at the time? It was a band from a label called YG called 21, okay? If you knew, you should have said it, okay? All right. All right, so this is a song.
Hey Playboy, it's about time and your time.
She doesn't even know English.
I had to do this one for my girls.
She doesn't even know what she's saying.
Sometimes you gotta act like you don't care. That's the only way we boys learn. 이 어디서 모든 립스틱들 나는 절대로 용서 못해.
such a good chorus.
'Cause I don't care. I don't care. Boy, 알아. 여자들의 다리를 훔쳐보.
So catchy, but so obvious, right? Like it lacked any nuance. Completely the opposite of the music that I thought was the music you should like, right? But for some reason, I was listening to it way more than Radiohead. Sorry, that's a sin to say. Sorry, Radiohead. But I was listening to K-pop. My brother didn't know. He still thought I hated it, but alone, I'd be like, oh man, I can't stop listening to this thing. And so that opened my mind up to the possibility of Korean music, at least. Because even though I kind of hated it, I couldn't deny it. It was too catchy. And so I was made aware that there is a whole movement going on in the East, even though it was starkly different from the West. And so during that time, within several years of that time, there was an opportunity, because K-pop was growing more and more, for an audition program called, what is it? K-pop, or no? That's not the show, but that is a good movie, actually. K-pop Idol or something like that. Yeah, but they had this audition program. It's basically American Idol. K-pop Star is what it is. It's American Idol for Korea. And they were doing the first season, and they were holding auditions. And my dad, for some reason, he was in Chile in South America doing missionary work, and I was visiting him. And for some reason, a location for auditions were in Argentina. It's just like, I don't know how that happened, but my dad was like, why don't you just go and like try out? And I was like, okay, well, I know K-pop now, so I might as well go and like, try it out. At least I'm familiar with it. So we flew over, and I went and tried out, and I was one of the finalists. I didn't make it onto the TV show, but all the while when you audition, there's a bunch of scouts just kind of like on the sidelines. They're watching, and they're from different labels, and they want to see what opportunities there are for them. And so one of the scouts, A&Rs, managers, whatever you want to call them, approached me and said, hey, we would love to sign you as our artist at our company. And it was a smaller company in Korea, but they were known for basically inventing Korean R&B. So it was a very legendary company at the time. And so I thought, well, that's a great idea. Like, what do you want me to do? They're like, we want you to kind of be like the John Mayer, Jason Mraz of Korea. And I didn't go over this because I'm only going over like 15% of all the stuff that actually happened, but like I became a huge fan of John Mayer in that time, because John Mayer was like, he's the reason why everyone my age plays guitar, okay? And so I was like, okay, I'm on board with that. I would love to be the John Mayer of Korea. But going there and clashing with the Korean culture and just disagreeing on business matters, especially disagreeing on musical matters, it didn't really work out to what I hoped. We had a falling out, and I decided not to work with that company anymore. And the reason why that was soul-crushing for me at the time was because I was so convinced, even though I was being influenced by all these new genres, that I was still going to make it as a rock star, as a musician. And so I thought, okay, well, this is just a path to fulfill my fate, which is what I had planned already from the beginning. And so I'm going to go to Korea and do this thing. But it didn't work out. So I was just like lost. I didn't know why this was happening. I was questioning God. I'm like, this is what's supposed to happen. Like, why is this not working out? And in that time of lostness, my brother, who was married at this point, and he moved to LA, told me, just come by. We'll regroup. We'll reset and try to figure out your career plan, okay? And at this point, I'm in my early 20s. And so I was like, okay, I was getting a little antsy because my I really had a plan A, there was no plan B, right? So my plan A was like crumbling. And I'm like, what's gonna happen to me? I have no idea. Like, I'm rejected by the industry that I'm trying to get into, and there's no other plan. So while I was staying with him, he was, once again, playing some music, but this time he was writing it. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm writing for K-pop artists. I got connected with some people in Korea, and they were asking for songs. I'm like, you could write for people? He was like, yeah, I mean, that's how K-pop exists. Like, it's not like they sit there and write their own songs. Like, people write songs and sell it to them. I'm like, oh, I could do that. Like, you guys heard the songs that I just played you. Like, who can't write that? So I was like, all right, let's do it. So we got into a room with like a bunch of writers, and someone brought a track, and they played it. I'm like, and I just had like so much bravado. I'm like, all right, cool. Give me the mic. And then I just sang something. I was so sure of it, you know, and I'm like, okay, we're done here. This is going to go platinum. Crickets. Nobody cared. I'm like, did you guys not hear correctly? What do you mean? Like, anyone else have better ideas? I tried 2 more times, crickets and crickets. And I sat down, and I looked to my right, and I asked the guy, I'm like, hey man, so which of those ideas work? And he was like, and to his credit, I'm so happy he did this. He looked at me and said, Sam, none of them work. None of those ideas work. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then the person next to him looked at me and said, Sam, you don't know how to write a chorus. Mind you, I've been in bands. I've been writing songs for years throughout my career at York High School. Even a short stint of my time at Sandburg Middle School, right? Yeah, any Sandburgers over here? For some reason, they're all on this side. So yeah, like, my ego was bruised. It was actually shattered because someone told me after all these years of trying to make good songs, they said I can't write a song. And so luckily, looking back, it was very lucky. My attitude toward it wasn't, well then, screw you guys, I'm gonna go in and do my thing and someone's gonna like my music. No, it was, in that moment, miraculously, I humbled myself and shut myself up and sat down and listened to what was going on. I listened to these people that were clearly more advanced in their skill set of K-pop music, and they were able to navigate through and find what was needed for this group. And I just had open ears and a closed mouth, and I feel like that was the greatest lesson that I learned in my first step towards songwriting for other artists. And so if you are a songwriter, I would say start off like that. Try to listen a lot more than you talk. Try to listen a lot more than you express. I know it's an industry of expression. You're trying to convey your creative ideas, but it doesn't work in certain contexts. So when you go into a room, read the room. Understand the context that you're trying to serve, and eventually you have to serve it and not have it serve you. So because of that, how much time do we have? 2 more minutes? Okay. Wow, I thought I had a lot more time. So I'll try to wrap it up real quick. In that time, so I went into my room, and then eventually COVID happened, and I spent that time completely locked in my room, and I had a walk-in closet, and I made that into a little studio. I wouldn't walk out of there. Every single day I made a song. Every single day I finished the song. And it was terrible at first, but I kept on studying all the big groups. At the time, BTS was popping off. They're still popping off right now, but BTS's songs were way better back then. And so I was studying all that music, and I was trying to make my own songs. And eventually what happened was, when I was about to give up, because after all that time, 1.5 years of just making songs every single day, you get really burnt out and you want to quit. And I did want to quit. Until on the day I wanted to quit, my brother sent me a text message with a screenshot from SM, a label in K-pop. They actually invented K-pop, saying, we want your song for a group that we have called NCT. Okay? Anyone know NCT? Awesome. Okay, so that was for me a gold medal. It was for me a black belt. It was like finally someone understands, or someone can acknowledge that I can write a song well for K-pop. And so through those successes, I was once again tempted to raise my ego. Now I could make full songs by myself. I don't need collaboration. When the whole industry was actually collaborating and writing songs together, I was like, why would I need anyone else when I can just have my name on the credit by myself? I did the track and the top line, which is the melody writing. Why would I need anyone else? And then in that time, for a whole year, I had a dry spell. No one was buying the songs. And so that taught me another lesson. And it's that collaboration is not selfless. It's actually selfish, because collaboration is the only way that you get ideas that you otherwise would not get. And the culmination of great ideas from all the other people coming together, and you pick the best ideas, makes the best song possible. And that wouldn't have been possible with just me doing it by myself. So the following year after that, all I did was collaborate, and there was much success to be had. I have many songs that I do want to show you, but I actually can't. But we can talk about it if you guys stick around for the next period. But this is all to say that I thought I had it all figured out. Okay, so if I collaborate and I just write songs with people, then I'm going to be successful in this field. Another dry spell. Once again, this industry is very unpredictable. And this is a new dimension that I had to tap into. But at this point, I was married. We were thinking about having children. And so I was like, okay, I'm a songwriter. I don't have a stable career. I don't know what's going on. So I prayed to God. I was like, I don't know what you're doing here. But I am just going to continue writing songs, and you figure it out. I was in despair, okay? But unbeknownst to me, someone called me up that week, actually, and said, hey, we got a little side gig for you. There is an opportunity, not for songwriting, I don't know if you're interested in this, but it's kind of like a voice acting gig. You can do singing for it. It's an animated film. It's going to release next year. You won't really see any benefit from it for a while. Sony sold it to Netflix. They don't really believe in it. But you can do it if you want. They want to hear your voice. They have this 5-person boy group, and they need the last member. I was like, okay, sure, I'll audition for it. And I got the part, and I recorded it, and it eventually became a movie, as you know, called K-Pop Demon Hunters. And all that, thank you. All that is to say, you'll notice that everything I told you right now, you can't really walk away with anything because it's all unpredictable. But if I were to tell you what to keep in mind as you're navigating through the creative industry, is try to have all the supportive people in your life around you as much as possible. Don't trust only in yourself, but trust in a higher power if you can, because your plans are not set in stone. Work really hard to improve and get good, and try to make others win because it's a team sport, and they will help you win as well. There's a lot of other things I would like to talk to you about, but we ran out of time. Thank you so much for your time and allowing me to talk to you.